Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. Today I'm going to recap yesterday and this morning's tennis and look ahead to the rest of today and tomorrow. College basketball, NHL, NBA, more Kobe talk, and my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start with tennis today just to change things up, and I haven't done tennis on the podcast in a while because all this Kobe stuff and when that is really taken over. So we're going to start on the men's side, and we'll start from yesterday. Round 4, Nadal over Kyrgios in 4 sets. Zverev over Rublev in 3 sets. Federer over Sandgren in the quarterfinals in 5 sets. That was a great match. And then so far today, Djokovic over Raonic in 3 sets. And then 10:30 tonight on ESPN2, Stan Wawrinka against Alexander Zverev, your 15 versus your 7. Tough one. I think this will be a good match. I'm going to say Zverev in, let's go 4 sets. And then tomorrow at 3:30 in the morning on ESPN2, 1-seeded Nadal and 5-seeded Daniel Time. So Rafael Nadal and Daniel Time, that's a really good game or match in the quarterfinal. I'm going to go with Nadal to win in 4 sets. And then tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, Federer Djokovic, will pick that on tomorrow's podcast. Now we'll switch to the women's side. You had 30-seeded Pavlyuchenkova over 17-seeded Kerber in 3 sets. You had 14-seeded Kenin over Jabeur in 2 sets. 1-seeded Ashley Barty over 7-seeded Petra Kvitova in 2 sets. At 7 o'clock tonight on ESPN Plus, you have 28-seeded Kontaveit and 4-seeded Halep. We're going to go with Halep in that match. And also in the quarterfinals tonight, 8:30 ESPN2, you have Muguruza and 30-seeded Pavlyuchenkova. We're going to go with Pavlyuchenkova there. And then in the semifinals, TBD, and then 1-seeded Barty and 14-seeded Kenin on Wednesday night. So we'll save that also for tomorrow's podcast. Now we'll talk some college hoops. We're going to go over last night's games and look ahead to tonight's slate. North Carolina defeats NC State 75-65. American over Lehigh 77-56. Norfolk over Florida A&M 95-67. Morgan State over Maryland Eastern 56-50. Bethune-Cookman over SC State 78-74. Coppin State over Howard 82-75. NC A&T over Delaware State 82-67. Northern Arizona over Sacramento State 69-54. UMKC over Crowley's Ridge 99-41. Number 18 Iowa over Wisconsin 68-62. Southern over Alabama A&M 67-46. Alcorn State over Alabama State 63-60. Prairie over Mississippi Valley State 102-83. Texas Southern over Arkansas Pine Bluff 68-57. Number 3 Kansas over Oklahoma State 65-50. Eastern Washington over Northern Colorado 89-84 in overtime. Southern Utah over Idaho 73-45. Tonight's slate, 6:30 Fox Sports 1, you have number 8 Villanova at St. John's. Villanova is a 3-point favorite. This line is kind of right where it should be. It opened at 2 and up to 3. I would still take Villanova. I don't feel super about it, but I do think that St. John's has a chance. So give me Villanova minus the 3 on the road at Madison Square Garden against St. John's. SEC North, Texas A&M, Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by a whopping 11.5. That's too big. Tennessee's underachieved this year. I'm taking A&M in the points. I think Tennessee will win, but I think that's a closer game. 7 o'clock ESPN, number 5 Florida State at Virginia. Virginia is a 1-point favorite. There's that saying out there, don't let the number fool you in certain situations. This is one of them. I'm laying it with Virginia. Although Florida State looks like the obvious pick on paper. ESPN2, Mississippi State at Florida. Florida's favored by 5.5. Tough one, but I'll lay it with the Gators. Some could argue that Florida's overvalued here, but I really like the Gators in this spot at home. ESPN News, SMU, Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored by 5.5. Cincinnati's playing very well. They kind of turned their season around a little bit in conference play here. But I don't know if that means that they're going to ultimately be in the field of 68 come Selection Sunday. I'm going to take SMU plus the 5.5, but I think Cincinnati will win the game. CBS Sports Network, Richmond at VCU. VCU's favored by 8.5. That's too big. I'm taking Richmond in the points, but VCU will win the game. Rhode Island at George Mason. 7 o'clock. Rhode Island's a 5-point favorite. George Mason's fallen apart after a good start. I'm going to take Rhode Island minus the 5. I don't feel super about it, though. Buffalo at Akron. That's a good game from the MAC. Akron's favored by 7. I'm going to take Buffalo in the points, but Akron will win. Kent State, Toledo. Toledo's favored by 4 at home. That, I think, is a little bit big of a number. I think Kent State wins outright, so give me the plus 4 there. Syracuse at Clemson, the ACC Network. Clemson's favored by 1.5. This is similar to the Syracuse situation, the Florida State-Virginia situation where the perceived weaker team is favored. Tough one. Syracuse has won like 6 or 7 in a row. They're kind of playing back into the tournament field a little bit. But I think this is a sort of a trap game, and it's telling you that. So give me Clemson minus the 1.5. Michigan at Nebraska on ESPNU. Michigan's favored by 5. It was at 3 last night. It went up. Tough because Michigan's fallen apart like a drum. Nebraska is bad themselves. I'm going to lay it with Michigan, but I don't feel good about it. Central Michigan at Miami of Ohio. Ball State at Bowling Green. That's a good game. Bowling Green's favored by 1. I would lay it. I love Bowling Green at home against Ball State. I think that this should be higher, like 3.5, 4. So I think I'm stealing money here with Bowling Green. 7:30 Morehouse at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech should win that one. 8 o'clock Big Ten Network. Purdue at number 25 Rutgers. Rutgers is a 2-point home favorite. Tough. Purdue's a good team, but they've underachieved this year. Give me Rutgers minus the 2. They're home. The rack's going to be rocking. 8 o'clock ACC Network. Virginia Tech at Miami. Virginia Tech's a 2.5-point road favorite. I'd lay it with the Hokies. Don't feel good about it. Miami's kind of falling apart a little bit here. There was a bad loss against Carolina the other night. But the case for Miami is that was just a blip on the radar, that bad loss, and it's a bounce back spot. But I'm going with Virginia Tech anyway. This is the pick I think I'm probably going to regret the most. Ohio at Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois favored by 3. I'd lay it. Georgia at Missouri on the SEC Network at 8:30. Mizzou's favored by 4.5. I don't get why Georgia all of a sudden, just because they play bad for a couple games, is all of a sudden the number's off. I think Georgia wins the game outright. It's a bounce back spot. Pitt at number 9 Duke on ESPN. Duke's a 16-point favorite. Tough line here. I would make this exactly what it is. And I'd lay with Duke, but I don't feel super about it. Because Jeff Capel back at Duke is an interesting storyline, in my opinion. CBS Sports Network, number 16 Butler at Georgetown. Georgetown's favored by 1.5. I'd lay it with Georgetown, but I don't feel good about it. ESPNU, number 17, Auburn at Ole Miss. Auburn's a 5-point road favorite. I'd lay with Auburn. Fresno at Air Force. Air Force is a 3-point favorite at home. I'd lay it with them. And Utah State at Wyoming, 11 o'clock ESPNU. Utah State's a 13-point favorite. I am going to take Wyoming in the points at home, but Utah State will cover. Now we're going to talk some NBA. Go over last night's games and look ahead to everything tonight. Cavs over the Pistons, 115-100. Heat over the Magic, 113-92. Mavs over the Thunder, 107-97. Bulls over the Spurs, 110-109. Kings over the Timberwolves, 133-129 in overtime. Rockets over the Jazz, 126-117. without Harden and Westbrook. Tonight's slate, 7 o'clock, Knicks at the Hornets, Warriors at the 76ers, 7:30 Pelicans at the Cavs, Hawks at the Raptors, 8 o'clock Wizards at the Bucks, Nuggets at the Grizzlies, 8 o'clock TNT, Celtics at the Heat. Heat are a 1-point home favorite. The Heat are in the second of a back-to-back, and the Celtics have kind of been up and down. I think this is easy money. I'd lay the point with Miami. I'd make this Miami by 3 because I think these teams are very even right now, so I feel like I'm stealing 2 points. So give me the Miami Heat -1 at home against the Celtics on TNT. 8:30 Suns at the Mavs, and then Clippers-Lakers was postponed and will be made up at the larger gate. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. Now we'll talk some hockey, go over last night's games, and look ahead to tonight's slate. Capitals over the Canadiens 4-2. Devils over the Senators 4-3 in a shootout. Maple Leafs over the Predators 5-2. Stars over the Lightning 3-2 in overtime. Canucks over the Blues 3-1. Sharks over the Ducks 4-2. Tonight's slate, only 2 games. 7 o'clock, the Senators at the Sabres, and 9 o'clock, the Blues at the Flames. So a very short slate tonight for post-All-Star break. There's a lot of teams on bye. A lot of teams are just traveling and whatnot. So weird schedule coming off the All-Star break. And none of the games tonight are on NBCSN, which is weird because Tuesday night they always air something hockey-related. But last night they had Lightning at the Stars, and the Stars ended up winning that game in overtime on a goal by Jamie Benn. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Kobe. A couple minutes ago, I said on the podcast that the Clippers-Lakers game was postponed. Rightfully so. Just give the Lakers some time to console and to just breathe. And there's a lot of sad people in there, and I don't blame the league for doing this. And the Clippers is the other LA team, so I think it's fitting that they're supposed to play the Clippers, and I could think that they could use a game off as well. Doc Rivers was very emotional, obviously, on Sunday, addressing the media, talking about the passing of Kobe Bryant. He was close with Kobe, so it really hit him home. So a deserved day off for both of the LA franchises. Again, my thoughts and prayers are with the Bryant family for the loss of Kobe and Gianna, and the rest of the families who lost loved ones on that accident as well. It's just very, very tragic. LeBron James finally spoke for the first time. He made an Instagram post, really touching, and it hit a lot of people home. ESPN last night re-aired Kobe Bryant's final game against the Utah Jazz at home, April of 2016, where he scored 60 points. And they came back from double digits down with less than 3 minutes to go to win that game. Vintage Kobe, 3-pointers, getting to the free throw line, and mid-range jumpers. He was totally himself in that final game. Although shooting percentage was kind of bad, but 60 points is what mattered in his final game. Doing it in all different styles, and I think it was fitting for Kobe to go out like that in his last game, to go off for 60. And then he had the speech before the game. He spoke after the game as well. A lot of his former teammates were at the game, like Shaquille O'Neal and Derek Fisher. I don't think Phil Jackson was there because at the time he was the president of the New York Knicks, so I don't think he was in attendance for that. And the other thing that hit me home when I was watching Kobe's final game last night, they kept showing his children, and of course Gianna was sitting in the crowd. She was probably 10 years old at the time, and that really, really hit me home. She was up and cheering. She was wearing a nice black dress, and she was having the time of her life watching her father score 60 points in his final NBA game. So that really was sad watching that. And then MSG Network, the home of the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers, aired Kobe Bryant's 61-point game at the Garden. And they're re-airing it today and tomorrow as well. So I think that was very classy of the Knicks and MSG to do that. And they're re-airing the Knicks telecast from it. So it was Mike Breen and Walt Clyde Frazier. And at the time, that was the year that the Lakers won the first of the two titles in Kobe's second prime with Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom and Derek Fisher. Andrew Bynum, I think, was hurt that year. And then a lot of other fine players on those Laker teams. Ron Artest. So I was watching a little bit of that last night. You'll be seeing a lot of Kobe tributes throughout the week, not only on ESPN and on other basketball teams' networks, but on NBA TV as well. You'll see a lot of classics. You'll probably see Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals, even though Kobe did not have a great game, but he brought his team back from a double-digit deficit to win that game. 2009 NBA Finals, he was the Finals MVP that year as well. They'll probably show some of the games where in his first prime with Shaq when they were winning championships together as well. His 81-point game against the Raptors. I mentioned MSG Networks re-aired his 61-point game at the Garden. He had a lot of big number output games in his life, and I believe he had about over 20 50-point games in his career, which tells you all you need to know about what kind of player Kobe was. And he just would always be locked in, and he always would play the right way, and he's somebody that was a good rebounder for his position as well, and he had a couple triple-doubles in his career as well. So, again, this is just a really sad tragedy, and we're going to be talking about this a lot throughout the week on the show. And last but not least, my best bets of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. 1-1 yesterday for best bets. I lost with Wisconsin getting 5.5. I got backdoored on a free throw. I should have waited and got it at 6.5, or else that would have been a winner because Iowa won by 6. And then my win was the Miami Heat with the layup of 4.5 and went up to 6 at home against the Orlando Magic. So my best bet for the NBA tonight, I'm going to go back to the well and pick the Miami Heat again. -1 at home against the Celtics. Home court advantage is big. The Celtics have been a little up and down lately. Big game. I know the Heat in big games have not done well lately, like on national TV. Like they lost to the Lakers, they lost to the Clippers. But I just feel that this is their time to rise to the occasion. So I'm going to lay the 1.5 with the Miami Heat tonight against the Celts. And then the other side, college basketball tonight. There's some interesting numbers that I like tonight. Let's go with, how about this is so hard. Bowling Green -1 against Ball State is my favorite pick on the board for college basketball. Unless there's injuries, I don't see how this is a winner. So I'm going to lay the one with Bowling Green at home against Ball State. All due respect, by the way, to Virginia -1 against Florida State and Kent State +4 against Toledo. Michigan -4.5 against Nebraska. There's a lot of good ones that I could have gone with for best bet today. And that's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the tennis, college basketball, NBA, and NHL. Look ahead to tomorrow night's stuff. Talk more about Kobe. I have a best bet or best bets as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.